With Geoff Hobson, editor of Bengals.com, going to recap the recently held draft and a little bit of news out of the Bengals locker room today. Let's start there quickly, Geoff, with Andrew Whitworth, who talked today. Not happy that the Bengals have not discussed an extension with him. Are you surprised that there haven't at least been some level of conversation between the two?
Well, I think there's been some talk about an extension. I think, to me, my sense was he was kind of thrown for a loop that nobody got to him after the draft choices were made. So, yeah, I think there has been, I think maybe Whit might have raised the extension before he left after last year, but I think what might have maybe thrown him more for a loop was that, nobody got to him really after after the selections were done. So it's that classic Paul Newman movie line. I think what you have here is a failure to communicate.
One of my favorite lines, by the way. No question about it.
If you're in any kind of a newsroom situation, those are always the worst places of communication.
All newsrooms are Cool Hand Luke operated, no question about it. Geoff, in a perfect world, Andrew Whitworth can be re-signed to this football team, even though they did draft two tackles. I was asked questions, I'm sure you were too, by fans on Twitter, that he shouldn't be angry because they drafted two tackles. He should see the writing on the wall. But there's still probably a place for this guy because he can play tackle, he can play guard, he still is a leader. And there's no guarantee that either or both or neither of these guys come in and play even next year, for goodness sakes.
No, I mean, that's right. I mean, I know he's going to be. The thing is that the people are saying he's going to be 34 in December, but yet he's coming off his best season. Yep. So, and plus the guy, he could probably be a Pro Bowl guard, probably at this stage of his career too. Now, that's obviously there's a logjam there too because they just signed Clint Bowling for $5 million a year, and Kevin Zeitler's, they gave him an option, but clearly he's got some football left, you would think, and obviously he's a leader in the room. So I do not rule anything out there. I could see where something gets worked out.
The other kind of nuggety news of the day was Tyler Eifert. Got a chance to talk about his injury issues, the elbow injury that he suffered last year, that gruesome dislocated elbows behind him. Did have shoulder surgery and still recovering from that, but it sounds like he's moving in the right direction. He's able to catch some passes. He's able to run routes. He just needs to get fully cleared for contact and thinks he can by training camp.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is that at the tender age of 24, he's now the old man in the room. With Gresham out of there, they drafted two rookies. Eifert's the guy, and he's barely got a season of NFL ball under his belt. So it's going to be an interesting transition for him that way, where Alex Smith and Jermaine Gresham showed him the ropes, and now he's got to do it for these young kids.
That'll segue into the draft because he did select two tight ends, and we'll get to them in a second. But obviously, the big news was the selecting of the two tackles. I know we were all surprised, but boy, really, when you look at this draft, they went in with a really good plan of staying true to the board, and in that regard, they still filled so much depth for the present with a big time eye on the future, Geoff.
Yeah, I think they've been criticized for, they made the long-term future better, but they didn't do anything to win the Super Bowl this year. And I would tend to disagree there. I mean, I think they've got some, what they needed more than anything was some players at tight end and linebacker, some of those complementary positions. What they really need to get over and win the Super Bowl is they got to get people healthy. The people they've already got, they got to get healthy. But yeah, I thought it was, the only thing at number two maybe, and I'm sure they thought about it was Randy Gregory, and that would maybe have given you a difference maker. But then again, you're talking about a guy with two huge downsides. A, what's he going to play in the league? Where you can't really pigeonhole him. He doesn't really have a position. And B is off-field stuff. So I think, in this day and age, if you stay true to your board, it can only help you. It reminded me of the Skinny reminded me of the 06 draft when they picked Witt, when in the 55th pick in the second round, and it was Whitworth or Devin Hester. Well, Devin Hester didn't have a position, and he was a hell of a returner, but in Andrew Whitworth, you knew you were getting a 10-year solid NFL guy. And
he was maybe playing his best football in his later years.
That's right. So, that kind of So while you can maybe knock them for not doing something right now, I don't think you can argue that they did help the team.
Geoff Hobson from Bengals.com here on the Skinny Podcast. Couple final questions, Jeff. When you look at this draft, I kind of always look at what was not the best pick, worst pick, even though I did that on Local12.com, but what was the best value? When you look and you go, boy, that was a real value pick there. Were there a couple that stood out to you?
Yeah, I thought the corner at the top of the fourth round was interesting to me. I think he's a guy.
Josh Shaw.
Josh Shaw, the corner from USC, who had his own character. We were talking about Gregory, but he had his own character rub with the fabricated story. But just from a physical standpoint, this guy, he's everything you want in an NFL corner. He could play a little safety maybe too, but he's exactly what Marvin Lewis loves. Lewis, Zimmer, Paul Gunther, 6 feet, 200 pounds. When he obviously fell because of what happened. So I think that's and there's a guy that helps him on teams right away. And so I thought that was an interesting pick as far as value. And, I think the safety in the 6th round, I saw he didn't get a couple of A's. Darren Smith didn't get it. He's small, probably why he fell. He's 5'11", $197, but had like 15 career picks. So, I think he's a guy that maybe he's a 6th rounder that may end up sticking.
Yeah, Jeff, and really, when you look, I know a lot of people would scratch their head about drafting Seto Gueye in the 1st round because of the knee issue and drafting a second tackle. The only one I looked at and scratched my head a little bit about was the second tight end selection. Not because they selected a second tight end. I thought they were going to and almost had to based on what they need on the roster. But C.J. Uzomah in a lot of places wasn't rated very high, but I guess they feel big guy, got a lot of upside, played in a good program, played in a program that didn't feature a tight end, and he's going to develop in the NFL.
Yeah, they've had their eyes on this guy. I know that the guys were talking about him before the draft, and they were really pushing him. The coaches, they really liked him. And he ran a faster 40 than Dawson, the 3rd round linebacker, and that's what really got him was I think he runs a 4.6, 265 pounds, and they just couldn't walk away from that. I guess he's has a real good feel for the downfield game, so they couldn't pass up on a measurable.
Jeff, I appreciate it very much. Of course, this coming weekend is the rookie minicamp. We got a chance to see some of the rookies and talk to a few of the rookies, but we got a chance to see them maybe go through some paces over the weekend, and we look forward to seeing your stuff on Bengals.com, and I appreciate the time.
Skinny, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. I always hate those rookie mini camps. They never do 4 practices in 2 days ever in their careers. This is the only time they do it. You just cross your fingers, hope no one gets whacked.
That's exactly right. No question. Well, Butchie, you won't get whacked for appearing on the Skinny Podcast. Thanks.
Thank you, Skinny.
All right, very good. That's Geoff Hobson from Bengals.com on the Skinny Podcast.